everybody, this is Jason from Jason Ryan Animation, and today we're going to recap over what we learned in the first lecture, but also expand a bit. So timing is the amount of time or frames that you give to each movement, and spacing is the amount of space or gap that you leave between each frame or pose. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this shot. So in this lecture we're going to go from a slow out, we're going to ramp down this hill to a fast section, okay, and then we're going to go up the other side of this hill to a slow in. Okay, so remember in the last lecture I said anything that goes from a stop position must slow out, okay, and then if it goes to an extreme it's got to slow in. Okay, so we're going to start off with our spacing keys. Okay, so if we're going to do this all on one page, we'd start off with the first, and then go down to the bottom of the hill here, and then up to the top in the screen left, and then we're going to do halfway marks, okay, slowing out of that top position. So another halfway mark, another halfway mark, and so on and so forth. Keep doing halfway marks until you get the desired performance that you want, the desired spacing that you want. Okay, now going up the other side, we want to maintain the speed right here and then do another halfway mark slowing into this top position. So keep doing halfway marks here. So you can see that the spacing is getting tighter at the top and it's further apart at the bottom, giving us faster animation. So another way of looking at this is a timing spacing chart. Okay, so just imagine that this halfway mark right here in the center is this ball at the bottom, and this would be the extreme left and this would be the extreme right. So in a halfway mark would be that ball, and then another halfway mark, and basically slowing out of that first pose. Okay, slow out, and then maintaining that spacing. We're going to go the same on the opposite side and doing halfway marks into that top left hand ball right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start animating. So I did my first pose, now I'm doing my second pose. These would be the golden poses, the storytelling poses. These would be the ones that will just be the very first 1, 2, 3, and I'm just adding 2 frames to each of these so I can do one in between. Okay, a halfway mark. Okay, so I'm not worried about my timing yet, I'm just worried about the performance, the actual spacing. Okay, and a halfway mark between here and here. Okay, so these would be the kind of like the main breakdowns, if you like, and then we're going to start in-betweening. So now we're just going to start doing those halfway marks, making sure that our spacing gets tighter and tighter gradually up to this top part. So I'm kind of working backwards up the hill, you know, just kind of doing halfway marks between each of these in-betweens until you start to become almost like on top of each other, where it's basically like a moving hold, just gradually falling down that hill. Okay, and then the same on the opposite side, we're going to start to do halfway marks going up the hill. Okay, so the spacing is going to get tighter as we reach the top of the screen left position. Okay, so just finish this off here. Just doing halfway marks. They're getting really tight now. So I'm not worried about the actual frames that they're landing on yet. I'm just worried about the performance. I'm trying to get my basic poses down of what I think the actual spacing should be, and then I'll worry about the timing later. Okay, so I think that's probably, we probably need to maybe do 1 or 2 halfway marks, but you can see the spacing is getting bigger and bigger, so it's getting faster as the gap grows. Okay, so that's fast, and then this is tighter, so it's slower. Okay, and now it's getting slower and slower as we reach the top position. Okay, so this is all on ones right now, so you can see it's obviously too fast because I haven't timed it out yet. So here's the X sheet, so here's all the drawings, and what I'm basically going to do is just add 2 frames to everything. Okay, so I'm just guessing right now, just like get a ballpark figure, so I'm just adding 2 frames to the whole shot, so the whole thing will be on 2s. Okay, coming down the hill. Okay, and then we'll move the X sheet over here and we'll add 2 frames to the rest of the shot. So 2 frames, 2 frames. So now there's one in between to do between the whole thing. Okay, so let's have a look at that timing. So you can see it's getting better. We can start to feel the slow out and the slow in as it reaches the top of the ramp on the other side. And still getting that nice snappy timing in the center, but it's still kind of a little bit poppy, so we definitely need to in between this. Okay, now probably what I'm going to do just to accentuate this is maybe put 3 frames on the first 2 keys here. So I'm adding 3 frames right here and 3 frames right here, just so it'll be an even more of a slow out. And then as we reach the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it on these last 3 or 4 keys right here. So on 3s right there. Okay, so let's play that. So you can see it's even more of a slow out now. Okay, so I haven't changed the actual drawings, I'm just changing the timing now. So the spacing is remaining the same, but now the timing is changing. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start in between this. So the drawings are basically on top of each other, but what I'm trying to do here is kind of do pose 1 right here and pose 4 right there is a halfway and a halfway. So the spacing is getting gradually bigger as we go forward. Alright, so pose 1, pose 4, 3 and 2. Okay, it's really hard to see, but you'll get the picture when the spacing gets a little bit bigger as we drop down the hill. Okay, so let's keep going. See, we're basically just drawing a line on top of a line, which is like a moving hold almost. Okay. Keep doing these in-betweens. So we're going to bring this shot to 1s, which means there'll be a key on every frame. Okay. Now these are basic in-betweens, of course, but what we're really trying to sell here is that the tighter the in-betweens, or the tighter the gap, is basically going to be slower than a wider gap. Okay. So as we ramp down this hill here, accelerating, you can see the spacing is getting bigger and bigger. Okay, this is the timing chart right here, so we want to make sure that spacing is getting bigger gradually as we go down the hill. Okay, so let's keep going. So I'm just going to kind of favor the top part right here, because I definitely don't want to just jump up in speed. Okay, so I'm favoring the first position. So it's almost like a third right here. Okay. And the same here. I'm going to favor, see the gap right here and the gap right here. We just want to make it gradually bigger. So I'm favoring the previous key. That's kind of like a general rule of thumb. If you're ever in doubt, you always kind of favor the previous key. Okay, when you're actually animating. So again, just kind of looking at the spacing, making sure that if it was all on one page, that you could actually see a gradual speed up. So it's not a direct in between right here. Okay, and then here, making sure that he's reached a full speed right here at the bottom, and now it's going to start to slow up near the top. Okay, so I'm going to do halfway marks right here on the way back up. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish the shot off. So all we're doing now is just doing halfway poses, like on our spacing chart, all the way up to this top screen left position for the rolling ball. Okay, so we're just doing the final slow out. So if this was like a 2D shot back in the old days, it would have been cleaned up at this stage, so it would have a nice fine line on it, so the in-betweens would be easier to do. But because I'm doing just rough drawings here, I'm just trying to illustrate timing and spacing for the upcoming animators. So let's just finish this off and take a look at the final shot. Okay, let's hit play on this. Okay, so now you can really see the slow in and the slow out and that fast section right in the center. So again, recapping, timing. Timing is the amount of frames or time that you give to each movement. And then spacing is the space or gap that you leave between each frame or pose. Okay, so thanks a lot everybody for all the feedback. It's been very, very helpful. Without your feedback, I wouldn't have done this lecture. So all the very best, and stay tuned for the next lecture.